Hello, boys and girls. Has your weekend been as exhausting as mine? Do you just want to faint and fall asleep on your bed and not wake up until Monday morning? 'Cause I sure do. And on top of that, we had the worst debate clusterfuck in our nation's history just a few days ago. I recorded a version of this video the night of, but I rushed it out and I wasn't happy with it, so we're doing it again, and we're adding a few things to it. So shall we get going? As you can see, it was such a clusterfuck that I already started my drink of unboxing champions before we even started with the final video, which I'm showing to you now. It was the talk of the office after it happened, let me tell you. Anyway, we have 2 packages from Amazon, and then we also have some other Amazon things I've already opened. We got 1 eBay thing, we got 1 JDC Outlet bundle, and then we've also got a bunch of custom covers that I printed that I will show you. So first up, let's start with the first Amazon package. I knew that this was coming today, and I knew that the other one was coming today. Now, if you guys send a bunch of stuff out like I do, then it's always a good idea to save, like, to open these gently and to save these shipping envelopes, because that way you can reuse them for anything that you yourself might ship out, which is really handy for someone like me, where I don't just get movies in the mail, but I also mail them out, because I'm just that kind of guy. So first up, alright, so you might have remembered that or maybe I didn't tell you, I don't know, but I ordered a bunch of the Miramax re-releases that Paramount was doing now that they have the rights to send out a lot of the Miramax back catalog. So we got several of those re-releases today. So first up, and these all came with digital codes, which I'm going to sell probably tonight. And so first up, we have a movie series that I have never seen, but it is for a series starring one of my favorite actors of all time, and that is The Prophecy Complete Collection, starring Christopher Walken. And you see that they kept the same old school design, but it is put out by Paramount, not by Echo Bridge, so you know that it hopefully stands a chance at not having horrible picture quality or anything like that. Now this is weird. Look at this. So I took out the code. This is weird. So The Prophecy 2 has its own disc, and then The Prophecy 1 and all the other ones, they share a disc. How does that make sense? I don't know. Why are you asking me? But yeah, so as you can see on here, we got the Miramax logo, but then we've also got the Paramount logo there because, well, they're the ones putting it out now. Which, it's just kind of weird to see the Paramount logo next to these, but then again, no weirder than the Lionsgate logo on the older releases, or whatever they would have been. Next up, The Crow, which, glad to have that back in the collection. I was kind of hoping for, like, some kind of super-duper special edition, because I did have that one, and I sold it, because, again, I thought that they might come out with a 4K or something really cool, but whatever. Fantastic film, one of the best superhero movies ever made. Back in 1994, back before there was a big deluge of superhero films, and this was, of course, Brandon Lee's final role as an actor, because he died while making the movie because of a gun blank that went wrong and killed him, which is really, really sad. It does give the movie kind of a haunting feel to it, just because, well, he is so good in this, and yet, it was his final performance, a performance that killed him, and it's all about somebody who, comes back from the dead to get the righteous revenge on the people who killed him and his girlfriend on Devil's Night, the October 30th, the day before Halloween. And, yeah, it's a fantastic film. Alex Proyas directed it before he did Dark City, before he did iRobot and things like that. Highly recommended if you've never seen it. I'm so thankful that remake has continued to be stymied in terms of it getting made, because I don't want it remade. I want this to just stay as it is, because there's some things that are just so good that it's like, why fuck it up anymore? Why bother? I know this has a bunch of crappy sequels and stuff. I'll see if, who knows if they'll re-release those or whatever, but I've only ever seen the first one, and you gotta see this. If you love superheroes, and if you love, like, goth and metal culture of the 90s, anything really moody and dark, and if you like people with all kinds of face paint and cool outfits and shit, great soundtrack. Nine Inch Nails did their cover of Dead Souls on here, which, oh gee, look at that. Yeah, highly recommended. Can't say enough good things about it. Next up, another seminal 90s classic in, well, The Crow sometimes gets lumped into horror, and it's like, I guess, well, because it's supernatural and because it does have kind of a scary / gloomy aesthetic, I guess you could kind of sort of put it in there. Again, I put it in the superhero genre because, well, it was based on a comic, and, you've got someone who's, he's known as the Crow. He's got a costume of sorts, even though it's just black outfit and makeup and everything. He's got powers. He's got a mission. He has a tragic origin, all that kind of stuff. I think all that counts, don't you? Anyway, another 90s, another seminal classic series of 90s films, one from 2000, Scream. Says, well, I'm glad it says the 3-movie collection, instead of, like, the older release said the complete collection, and also, it said either the complete collection or it said, like, the 5-movie collection or something, because they counted the 2 documentaries. I'm glad that they changed the packaging here, because that was kind of deceptive before in the original release. Plus, obviously, Scream 4 is out, which I already have in the collection. So now I got all the Scream films back in the collection there. I really dug the first Scream film. I saw it in college. I wasn't as heavily into modern horror films at the time, and so the some of the meta humor and stuff didn't really bother me all that much, because me, like, I'm perfectly good with meta humor. I just don't like it when it comes at the expense of original ideas or characters that we can really believe in and of themselves. Like, in other words, it's like, if you didn't know the reference or whatever, would you still like the movie? If the answer is no, then, rewrite it, because if the whole thing is dependent on it just being a reference, then that's no substitute for storytelling. But nice thing here is that it is very reference heavy, but even if you didn't know that, the characters still really work. The dark comedy still really works. It is sufficiently filled with tension and twists and everything. And the fact that the characters, spoilers, the fact that the characters are our main group, the fact that they get to survive movie to movie, it allows us to really get to see their growth as characters. So it's kind of the anti-Friday the 13th, in the sense that Friday the 13th, outside of Tommy Jarvis, which is kind of a weak substitute, we don't really have any really strong or interesting characters that survive enough to where we can really get to know them or sympathize with them. And that's the difference here, is that it's... we get to see the characters grow over time, but then we also, the tension is surrounding the whodunit mystery aspects of it, because the Ghostface killer in here is a different person or persons each time, which is really cool. That's part of what makes it fun and unpredictable. And so, I really, really love these movies. My favorites are, well, the first one, I was going to say 2 would have been my favorite, except at the time, I didn't wholly buy the ending. I will have to rewatch it and see if because there's a lot about the second one that's actually better than the first one. I think overall the first Scream is the one that's the one that's going to hold up even better. Scream 3 is probably the weakest one, and it's mostly because they had to sugarcoat it pretty heavily, because it was supposed to come out in, I believe, 1999, and they had to push it back to 2000 and do a lot of extensive rewriting and really toning the violence down, toning the kind of sadistic aspects of the first two down because of Columbine and the crackdown on violence in media. So you get kind of a neutered sequel, but it does have some good stuff to say about film trilogies and stuff. And then Scream 4 is pretty good at talking about remakes and stuff. Like, Scream 4 is like okay. The first two are the best though. And then we got another film that I think should get either a 4K or a Criterion or a whatever. Hasn't yet. And that is Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York, which is one of his more underrated, underappreciated ones. I did watch it not too long ago, and I kind of wondered, because like I know that it got like a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was saying, oh, it didn't live up to its fullest potential or whatever, which watching it, like at the time I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. Watching it again, I can kind of sort of see what they're talking about, because it does kind of meander in the middle, and it does a great job of establishing the time and the place and all the politics of, well, New York City at the time, but also of the world. This is like during the Civil War, if I recall, and it's about the 1860s New York. It's with also it corresponds with the Irish potato famine and with Irish immigrants coming in to New York City and facing a lot of prejudice and hostility from the largely like Anglo-Saxon Protestant, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant establishment who don't consider them real Americans, all that stuff. And at any rate, yeah, I think it's a great film, though. I think it's one of his most underrated films. Now, I know that there's supposed to be, like, a longer cut of this film out there somewhere. It hasn't been officially released, but those who've seen it have said that it's a better cut. Because I know that our dear, our master of treating women with respect and kindness, Harvey Weinstein, I know that he kind of demanded a lot of cuts and things, and he fought with Martin Scorsese quite a lot to try and make some trims to make it more commercial, which apparently Harvey Weinstein did that even more so with like imported foreign films and animated films and stuff. He would make all these weird cuts to try and make them more commercial at the movie's expense, and so that's part of what led to the version that we all know. But it's a great film. I would like to see that alternate cut come out if it ever does. So those are the Miramax re-release ones that have the digital codes. Now, these other two came the other day. The weird thing about these, so these did not, well actually, the first one, the Hellraiser set here, it did come with a digital code, but it was actually a voodoo code for just this one, Bloodline. I don't know why. And guess what? It still has the Lionsgate logo down there. So what happened? Did Amazon have, now it had a different barcode on there, which was just a sticker. So what I'm thinking happened was, I wonder if they had any of these brand new from Walmart or something, and then maybe they slapped a new barcode on there and just called it a day. I don't know. But yeah, it has Lionsgate on there. It doesn't have Paramount, but I mean, I don't care. I'm just more puzzled than anything. But yeah, so this has Hellraiser 4, 5, 6, and 8. It does not have 7, which 7 is very, very expensive normally. I managed to find a supposedly region-free copy coming from Brazil, so it might be a bootleg, and I got it for pretty inexpensive, but at any rate, it'll be a relatively inexpensive way to have it in the collection there. Then I'll only have to worry about 9 and 10, and then I'll have the whole series. And then we have another set here of the first 3 Spy Kids films. I rewatched the first one, the second one, which I hadn't seen in forever, and I'm about to watch the third one for the first time. So the first Spy Kids I watched all the time when I was a kid. I loved it. It was weird as hell, and I thought so at the time. even weirder nowadays, but I loved it nonetheless. And I think part of it was that it was really fun, it was really action-packed, it had a lot of memorable moments. Floop as a character, I felt like if the whole movie was just about him, I would have been happy, but then again, it would have been Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory if that were the case. But more like Willy Wonka crossed with Pee Wee Herman, and I'm sure that's on purpose, but his song, the one that Danny Elfman wrote, where it's like, "It's a cruel, cruel world, all you little boys and girls, and some mean, nasty people want to have you for their supper." You know, that whole thing. Love that song. That's my favorite part of the movie. It's so dark and fucked up, and I love it. But yeah, the first one's really good. It has a lot of replay value. I saw it all the time. Second one I saw only once when I was a kid. We had just moved, like when it first came out on DVD, we had just moved cross country. I was still very kind of emotionally shaken. I was kind of going through a period of depression, and I was just a kid at the time, but it was like a big world-changing event, and I remembered really not caring for the second one all that much. Watching it again, it's better than I remember it. It's not as good as the first one, but it's a comparable sequel. Not seen the third one. I remembered seeing the trailers for it, but again, at that time, that would have been whatever it was, 2003, yeah. Now, actually, this was in theaters. I remembered that this was in theaters at around the same time as Spider-Man. I think this came out in March and Spider-Man came out in May, but there are some definite hints that they knew that Spider-Man was on the way because the robot's bug thing shoots webs like Spider-Man, and it's like, yeah, they knew what was coming out. They knew what was going to be the big blockbuster of that year. And then the third one I remembered when that came out, I saw trailers for it, and at that time I was like 11 or 12 at that time, and I was sort of in that weird place where I'm like, I'm not a kid anymore, but I'm not fully an adult yet, but I was watching movies like The Last Samurai, which is like an R-rated film. It's not even all that bad for an R-rated film, but like, you know, it's a war, you know, epic, and so I was watching stuff like that when I was that age, and it's like, yeah, once you do that, then you can't really go back, but I am eager to check it out. I don't have the fourth one. I'll have to track it down at some point. I've heard it's god-awful. And then last up for Amazon, we've got the Focus Features 10-movie set here, which is really cool. It's got, in chronological order, it's got Lost in Translation, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Pride and Prejudice, the 2005 one with Keira Knightley and Clive Owen, if I'm not mistaken, Brokeback Mountain, Atonement, Burn After Reading, Moonrise Kingdom, which there is a Criterion Collection version of that I'll have to get separately, The Theory of Everything, On the Basis of Sex, R.I.P. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Harriet, about Harriet Tubman. And I believe none of these have a 4K yet. And again, Moonrise Kingdom's the only one that has Criterion or some other snazzy version. It did come with a digital code, except guess what? It came with the digital code for the Blumhouse. I already sold this code, so I don't care. But it came with the Blumhouse of Horrors code. Why? I don't know. They must have fucked up. Now, if I wasn't going to just turn around and sell the code anyway, then I would have been a lot more upset. But, yeah, I did manage to sell that code just tonight. So, yeah, I don't care about showing it. But, anyway, yeah, that was just a weird error on their part. I assume Universal's part because it, you know, was inside, so it wasn't Amazon who did it. But, yeah, this is a great collection of these wonderful, like, award-winning movies that Focus Features did, or ones that are really good, like Burn After Reading, which some people hate that one. I love it. I saw it in the theater, and I think it's hilarious. I love dark comedy like that. The only ones of these that I have not seen, I've not seen that version of Pride and Prejudice. I've not seen On the Basis of Sex, and I've not seen Harriet, but I've seen all the other ones, and they're fantastic. So that's all for Amazon. Those are all new releases. And then we got one from eBay, which you saw that I got the 2017 Power Rangers on 4K disc only. Well, boom. I got the I cannot remember where this was exclusive to. I want to say Target. I could be wrong though, but yeah, this steelbook design is really cool. And now the only thing that's kind of weird is that it's like there's barely holding anything together. I don't know if like parts of the plastic are broken, but it's like it doesn't really make that satisfying click. When I hold it like this, it doesn't pop open like you would expect it to if it were broken. But it doesn't have that satisfying steelbook click to it. And there's the DVD and the Blu-ray, and then what's that fell out? It's the 4K disc that I put in there separately. And so now I've got the whole package deal there. And I really dug this film, which I already talked about this a little bit before, but I really dug this film. Sad that they are not continuing this continuity, but at least we've got this film as it is. I think that's a good thing anyway. And then we've got a little bundle here from our favorite Canadian JDC Outlet. Have a link to his eBay store in the description. Please show him some love. Tell him Dane sent you. And got a good variety here. What all do we have? We have 47 Meters Down with that super cool Canadian slipcover. One of the better known modern shark movies because it's got Mandy Moore in it. But yeah, I like these VVS films. Ones with their cool slipcover designs. Then we got American History X, which I think this movie could have been better than it was, even though what it was pretty solid. It just, I feel like the flashing back and forward, I feel like that kind of hurt a lot of the suspense because it's not told linearly, because we know that right away that Edward Norton gets out of the neo-Nazi life, then I feel like, well, that kind of cheapens the journey a little bit. And also, I know that Tony Kaye, the director, and New Line Cinema and Edward Norton, they like fought viciously about the editing of this film, and Tony Kaye kind of got blacklisted from Hollywood because he caused such a fuss. I don't know how much different his cut would have been. What's here is good. I feel like if they'd have told this linearly, and if they'd have been really like, even like there are definitely brutal moments and brutal aspects that'll probably upset a lot of people, not surprisingly because of the subject matter, but I feel like if they'd have told it linearly and possibly even made it even more brutal, then I think it might have made the point better, at least as far as I can tell. I haven't finished Romper Stomper. That one's about Australian white racist skinheads / neo-Nazis. That one, I got like part ways into it. The opening of it is more what I wanted this to be, as far as just starting off with brutality right away and not kind of giving us those constant reassurances that things are going to be okay. Because if you don't have those, then it ratchets up the suspense and it makes the journey, well, of this character anyway, I don't know about the others, but it makes that journey all the better because you don't know if he's gonna get out of it or renounce his evil ways or whatever. That's just me though. I'm the kind of guy that I want to see like a HBO or Netflix miniseries about. I want to see them make like a multi-part miniseries about like the glory days of the Klan. Like I'm thinking like the 1910s, where their membership was at like an all-time high and they were really mainstream, and you had like big parades down the streets and stuff. I want to see them do that just because I feel like people don't necessarily know that part of the Klan's history, and that they were extremely mainstream at one point in our history, and since around 2015 they've been coming out of the hate closet and reasserting themselves. So that's why we gotta know our history so we can fight the bad guys. Next up we got Changeling, the Clint Eastwood film starring Angelina Jolie, which I have yet to see, but heard good things about that. I know that her experience with Clint Eastwood was really, really positive. As I believe most actors who've worked with him, it's been really positive because he's just really efficient. He doesn't fuck around. Got a Steven Soderbergh film, Contagion, how appropriate for these times, right? This is apparently pretty hard to find with the slipcover, let alone the Canadian one. But I've heard good things about this one. No DVD though, but whatever. Not exactly gonna freak out too much about that. But yeah, all-star cast. Heard good things about it, but I've never seen it. But I imagine that it is quite appropriate for these times. I tried to watch a lot of like either zombie apocalypse films or other kind of pandemic films in the earlier days of the breakout, of the quarantining, and that was one I couldn't find, but now I got it. Next up, I remembered always wanting to see this film ever since I saw the poster when it first came out, but I still to this day haven't done it yet. I knew about the film, I knew about the music, because LeAnn Rimes was in her big mainstream music crossover phase, but never actually saw the movie, because I would have been way too young, and that was Coyote Ugly, with a pre-Psycho Tyra Banks, or at least slightly less Psycho. And, yeah, this was a Jerry Bruckheimer production, I assume kind of in a similar vein to, like, what he did with Flashdance and Cocktail and things like that. It's about, I guess, girls that, like, bar dance or something, but, great soundtrack. I remember it was very kind of, popular and well-known at its time. I just never saw it, so... Anyway, got a David Cronenberg film for you. A Dangerous Method, about Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, two luminaries of psychoanalysis and people without whom, the world of psychology wouldn't be what it is today. And I do think it's kind of unfortunate that in the academic world that people don't really seem to take their theory seriously, and I assume it's because of some of the obviously very dated and by today's standards kind of misogynistic aspects of, Freud's, ideas of what he called penis envy, meaning that, that girls, I guess, in his view, that they are envious of the male member and want to be boys secretly or something, which there's a lot that's surely dated about it, but I think their contributions to the sciences are innumerable, and I think we would be at a great disservice if we didn't study them and didn't acknowledge their importance to what we know today. Now, a lot of their stuff is very kind of, I think, kind of almost more philosophical and, in Carl Jung's sense, like almost mythological than it is scientific in the way that we think of today, but again, useful in its own right. Next up, we got DOA, Dead or Alive, oh boy. Based on the Dead or Alive video games about a bunch of bosomatic ladies and some guys, fighting each other. And because of them bosomatic ladies with their jiggle physics and things, I do think that people often forget about the actual game part of the Dead or Alive games, like the parrying system and just the fact that they were pretty fun to play in and of themselves. They never quite rose to the level of Tekken or Virtua Fighter or any of the other cool 3D fighters, Soul Calibur, anything like that. But, they definitely carved out their niche and, enough to get a direct-to-video movie made, which I've heard is bad, but hey, look at that. It's, goes along with the other, like, live-action Street Fighter films I have, and Tekken, and I know that there's a King of Fighters movie. I'll have to track that one down. I never actually played any King of Fighters game. I never even played Capcom vs. SNK, any of those ones, which is unfortunate for me. Maybe I'll have to rectify that one of these days. No Virtua Fighter movie yet, which is probably for the best, until they can do it right. Fighting games have never really been about the story anyway, except for Mortal Kombat. That's part of why the first Mortal Kombat, I think, still holds up, as cheese-tastic as it is. Need to get those back in the collection, but I keep hoping for like a 4K or something. Blade is coming out in 4K, so maybe they'll put those out in 4K. Next up is The Haunting of Winchester House Plus, I Am Omega. I sold I Am Omega because I knew that I was getting this. And I have seen haven't finished it yet, but I've seen part of The Haunting of Winchester House. It's just so funny because I've been to the real Winchester Mystery House. Looks nothing like that. It's a kind of a joke, but that's part of why I found it kind of funny. Because I was like, yeah, I've been to the real place, and it is not like that at all. But, it's a public, it's a real place, real story behind it, so no one owns that. Anyone can do it, so that's why they did it, The Asylum. Next up, we got a movie that I remembered hearing a whole lot about at the time, at least in the newspaper when I would read the movie reviews, and they printed some stuff of what happens in the plot that I was like, how did they get away with printing that in a family newspaper or whatever? It was about High Tension, the Alexander Aja horror film from France, which is pretty intense from what I recall. Never seen it, but heard good things about it. I think the part that I was sort of like, why? When I was young, I was like, I can't remember how old I was. When it came out in the United States, I think this is dated 2003, but I think it might have come out in the US a little bit later. But point is, I remember reading about it, and there was like, I guess someone having sex with like a disembodied head or something, and at that age I was like, what the fuck? But anyway, interested on checking that out. Next up is a movie called Lawless, which I thought that this had a 4K, but I guess it doesn't, because I've tried to look for it and I haven't seen it. But anyway, this slipcover is pretty sweet, and it gets like a 30s gangster film with Shia LaBeouf, and I guess that he really must have gone all in with his preparation on this film, which I guess that he tends to do. And then we have The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, that movie adaptation of the Alan Moore comic series. Love the comic series, love Alan Moore. I've heard that the movie's dog shit. I've heard that people that haven't read the comics think it's okay. I have read at least the first arc. There's a couple different arcs that are out there. I know that they made Alan Quartermain the leader instead of Mina Harker, like she should be. But at any rate, I have this one. I pre-ordered the 4K of V for Vendetta, the Amazon exclusive box set of that. I have the Watchmen 4K. I have the Watchmen TV series, the HBO one, and I do not have From Hell yet. But I think those are all the ones of his that have been adapted. Oh wait, and then there's Batman: The Killing Joke, which I need to get in 4K. Next up, you saw this in my one of my family videos. I sold that copy of the movie because it didn't have the DVD, it didn't have the slipcover. I went ahead and got this version of it because I think it just is what it is, just has a Blu-ray, doesn't have a slipcover. It's this piece of shit that I can't fucking stand, but again, it's one of those things where it's so bad, it's such a testament to failure, a testament to lost potential and wasted money and effort and just cataclysmically unfunny comedy, that you just kind of have to have it in the collection, because as soon as, someone says that such and such movie is the worst movie they've ever seen, how could they make it so bad? Just pull this bad boy off the shelf and then they'll know what a bad movie is. At least as far as, like, a movie with mainstream actors in it, not, like, a little indie piece of nothing that, was made by a 2-year-old or whatever. I'm talking, like, they threw millions of dollars at this. They had big-name stars in it. It's like, how on earth did it get to be like this? Just, words cannot even describe it. Next up, a movie called No Escape, which I saw this in the Manifest discs, and I saw it in Second and Charles. Saw it all over the place, but I never actually watched the movie. Seems like it's got an interesting plot where they're in like an East Asian country to live, and then there's like a violent uprising, and they are trapped in the middle of this, infighting and stuff. I mean, that seems like an interesting enough plot, especially these days with the Hong Kong, riots and stuff, and our own riots in the U.S. Got Southpaw there with Jake Gyllenhaal, and, boxing film. I like boxing movies. Not really a sports person, but out of all the sports, I like anything having to do with combat of some kind, whether it's, boxing or wrestling, Olympic style or professional, fencing, martial arts, anything like that I think is cool. It's very kind of caveman-like. And then you saw that I had this at my Second and Charles, my family video ones. I ended up getting it again, the Sucker Punch. I sold the other one because this one has the extended cut disc that the other one that I had didn't. And I was going to print out a custom cover for that one, but this one had the slip and it was really cheap. And I was like, yeah, I better jump on that because, it's easier to find that extended cut disc in this kind of form. But yeah, I got the slip cover with that. Eager to check it out. Haven't seen it yet, but Emily Browning and Zack Snyder, gifted visual director. I think kind of underappreciated. Next up, we got Super 8, the J.J. Abrams Steven Spielberg imitation movie, basically, before Stranger Things. But yeah, J.J. Abrams, at the time, I remember thinking, well, why is he trying to make a Spielberg movie? Shouldn't he just make one of his own movies? And because he kind of sort of had a style going with Mission Impossible and with the first Star Trek before this came out, which was kind of slick, fast-moving action. I loved what he had done on Lost, which that was its own thing. And then with here, it seemed like he was really just doing a big Steven Spielberg imitation movie, and he's also a producer on it. But, in and of itself, I think it's pretty strong. And again, this was before Stranger Things. This was before the massive, 80s wank fest that, that we had to put up with last decade, which we're going to put up with a big 90s wank fest this decade. But, yeah, this came before that. And actually, this technically takes place in 1979, so it's not even really 80s quite yet. So that's cool. But yeah, it came out before that big wave of, Lucas Spielberg nostalgia that we had to suffer through. And I feel bad for all the kids that are going to have to suffer through the 90s again. I'm going to be like, I'm so sorry, guys. I had to put up with this with the 80s babies, and now you're going to have to put it up with my generation. And then we got the Three Stooges movie, which, or rather, there were 6... Three Stooges feature films in the 50s or 60s, or I think it was the 50s, starring Moe, Larry, and Joe Besser, Curly Joe as he was called, but in the golden period, of course, with Curly and with Shemp and that kind of stuff. Sorry, Joe Dorito was Curly Joe. Joe Besser was different. Sorry. But yeah, this one was made obviously in 2012, many years after the fact. They're playing those characters, these new people. And it was actually a Farrelly Brothers film, which is funny. It's a PG movie. Would you call it a kids movie? Maybe, I don't know. But it is, it's funny because when I saw the trailer for this movie, I was like, that is going to be the worst movie ever made. It looks so unfunny. It looks awful. Why are they doing this? And then when I actually saw the movie, I was like, that was actually a pretty loving homage to the Stooges, and about as good as you could make a Three Stooges movie in 2012, given the fact that, well, we have a lot more political correctness than they had back in the 30s, and obviously the whole imitatable behavior thing with anything aimed at children and that kind of thing, and the fact that they had to work in the Jersey Shore people, which that was so forced. But but the fact of the matter is the Farrelly brothers, they clearly love the Three Stooges, and they did a pretty loving homage to them. And they, yeah, it's if you're a Three Stooges fan, it's you could have done a whole lot worse. This is not at all a train wreck. It had every reason to be a train wreck, and it isn't one. So thank you so much for doing that. In and of itself, is it really all that good? Could have been a lot worse. It's nothing great, but again, as a Three Stooges fan, having watched them when I was a kid, it was you could do a whole lot worse. And then last up for JDC Outlet is Victor Frankenstein, which I have not watched, but I like all the various I like checking out all the various adaptations of Frankenstein, because Frankenstein's my favorite novel of all time. Still got to check out that Hallmark series that apparently, gets it right. I do prefer ones that they don't necessarily try to, if you're gonna not stick to the book, then it's just go off and do your own thing that's not even remotely close, like the Hammer films did. and I assume what this does, but at any rate, eager to check it out. And then last up, these are movies that you've seen before, but you haven't seen them this way, because I printed off these cool custom covers that I got off of a website called Custom Maniacs. I'll put a link to that in the description. And I got some nice printer paper. I printed them off on my own printer, and you're going to check them out. So there's 300 Rise of an Empire there. Try to get as many of them with the barcode as I can, because that way if I do have to sell them, then, you know, Second and Charles or whoever can recognize what exactly it is. If you'll recall, this one came from one of the family video unboxings. It had that really crappy printer paper, you know, artwork that wasn't original, but there you go. Got it, you know, printed off there. And then we got some ones that I already had in whatever capacity. I just found a really cool alternate artwork there for The Big Short. Look at that. Look how cool that is. And then what's that? What's that? Is it the original cover on the inside? Yeah, that's right, because I kind of double layered it to where it kind of gives the illusion of like a reversible cover. And that way I still have the original cover. And then this is actually, I got Just the Gallows, like the disc only, at one of the family video trips that I didn't show you because I didn't have a cover for it. Found this cool 2-movie collection here, which, as you can see, there's no barcode here because it's not an official release and not trying to be one necessarily, but I don't have, and I haven't seen the second one. I liked the first one just fine. Like, I thought it was pretty good, actually. I don't know what the hate was about with it, but people hate found footage anyway. And I need to get the disc only of the second one, and that way I can probably put them together. But as far as found footage, you could have done a whole lot worse. Then you got Brett Ratner's Hercules there with The Rock, and that's a pretty cool alternate cover there, which, again, no barcode. But I have the original artwork on the inside. Still got to track down that DVD. And possibly a slipcover if I can find it. And then I'm probably going to reprint this one because I don't think I cut it correctly. As you can see, the white from the real cover. And that was Jonah Hex there, which I did that in lieu of the slipcover there, which, again, no barcode. And you can see part of the original cover poking out there. No DVD, of course. It's kind of sun-faded, this one, and so that's why I did it. And also, I do like... I think that's the original theatrical poster, too, which is cool. It's like, when a movie's got a good theatrical poster, why do they always have to change it and fuck with it for the home video release? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't like it. And then Maggie, which, as you recall, had that really crappy printer paper version, and I managed to get it looking pretty darn close to the real thing, which actually this is the real cover with the barcode and everything. It just, you know, I printed it off. But, you know, thickness-wise, glossiness, it looks really, really close. I'll try and find the slipcover for that one at some point. And then, remember when I said that that I sold the version of Robocop that I had? It's because I knew about a cover like this one. This wasn't like the specific one that I was looking at, but again, this is one of the original posters, if not like the main one, but I think that one looks really, really cool. I might have to print that one off again, because again, you can see a lot of the white. Sometimes you just kind of have to put up with that if you're into these custom covers here. Now, some of these, you can see that they're the double disc there. It's because when I ordered my replaceable, replacement cases for Blu-rays, I accidentally I ordered all double disc ones. I didn't order any single disc ones like I thought I had, so I'll have to order those separately, but that's fine. I mean, I'll make use of double disc ones. And then we got Shaun the Sheep there with that cool alternate artwork there. And that one looks pretty official as well. Quite similar to the real artwork there. But it's just, sometimes it's just cool if you find artwork that you like that's alternate, then you can kind of create your own double-sided, you know, reversible cover system there. And it does kind of help decorate the inside, if nothing else. And then finally, we have True Romance there. This did come in a 2-pack with this one in Natural Born Killers, which you can see I still have that original cover. I split them up because I thought that custom cover looked really cool, and the custom cover for Natural Born Killers that I still need to print out, that one looks really cool too. And, you know, sometimes it's just cool to have different ways of displaying things, but should I ever need to sell that 2-pack, I still have the original cover, because, you know, there might be 4Ks that are coming out at some point. You don't know. That is it for this episode. If you liked it, then please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon, set phasers to stun, warp factor 5. Did you pick up anything cool lately? Any cool new releases? Let me know in the comments below. I am going to finish off my drink of Unboxing Champions and forget all about just what a clusterfuck we're in right now, and also what an even bigger clusterfuck we're going to be in November and beyond. So yeah, hopefully you stay safe out there, folks. I'll see you next time.